What's on my mind? It's spring, finally. It was a rough winter. Spring is one of my favorite times of the year, particularly the beginning of spring. First, baseball begins. Baseball, for those of you who have heard me speak since I've arrived at Weill Cornell, is by far my favorite sport. Spring to me means baseball, and baseball for me means new beginnings. It's a new chance for everyone to, over the next 6 months, really see what they can do as a team. For me, I hate to say this in New York, but I will. I'm a passionate Boston Red Sox fan. And so I wake up every day reading about how the Boston Red Sox did the night before. It gives me great joy throughout the spring, the summer, and occasionally into the fall, although not always with the Red Sox. The other thing about spring is it brings some really incredible opportunities and celebrations to the medical campus. First, there's Match Day, which we've recently celebrated. And there's almost nothing more joyous than Match Day for our MD graduates to find out where they're going to go to do their residency training. It's just an incredibly fun day with our students, their families, their friends, their colleagues. Secondly, graduation. Here at Weill Cornell, we have the privilege of having graduation at Carnegie Hall. This year, we will be having 2 graduation ceremonies, one for the graduate school, the MD and master's degree candidates, and one for the medical school for the PA and MD graduates. I am looking forward to all of those events. 2 graduations, we've celebrated Match Day, and of course, baseball. To me, nurses are among the most important members of the healthcare team for a lot of reasons. One of which they are able to blend really great insight into the science and technology of what we're doing in caring for patients with the real humanistic piece of what we do at the bedside. There is nobody on the healthcare team who is closer to our patients in the clinic and at the and in the hospital. They are literally at the bedside hours at a time. Doctors cannot do their jobs effectively without their teammates, nurses. And nurses really make for the what I'll call foundation of the healthcare team. I have 2 daughters, my oldest 2 daughters, who are nurses. Both are following in the family footsteps and are trained as cardiac nurses, one in pediatrics and one in adult cardiology. And I'm so proud that they've been able to build careers around nursing. Now, one of them has entered the other part of the family business, clinical research, and her sister has created her own business around education in the perinatal time period. So I'm a big fan of nursing as a profession. I admire my nursing colleagues. I depend upon the partnership with my nursing colleagues, and I'm very proud that nursing is a tradition in our family. What a great question. What's the most underestimated challenge in running an academic medical center? How about everything I face every day? No, but I'll give you a more serious answer. All academic medical centers are different. And when I refer to academic medical centers, what I'm really talking about is this unique feature of a medical school combined with a healthcare system where we deliver inpatient care. Every place is a bit different. In fact, it's been said that if you know one academic medical center, you know exactly one academic medical center, because we're all structured differently, we're governed differently, the cultures are different. This is the 3rd academic medical center I've worked at in my professional life. At Duke University, I spent the majority of my career. I spent 11 years at Stanford University before coming here. And now I've been here at Weill Cornell, part of Cornell University, for the last 2.5 years. The most underestimated challenge is the relationship with the healthcare system. And part of that is because every relationship is a bit different. At Duke and Stanford, both of those healthcare systems were owned by the university. And so there was a different way of interacting with the healthcare system. Here, our very valued healthcare partner, New York Presbyterian, is a separate corporate entity. The most underestimated challenge in running Weill Cornell Medicine is being able to balance what I'll call the rules of working together. There's the um, all of the business relationships that are largely codified through contracts and MOUs that need to be adhered to. But wrapped around all of that are the relationships, and it may be the relationships that are the most underestimated part of running an academic healthcare system. How do you actually get people in two different corporate entities to work well together to deliver on what we promise, which is great clinical care, great research, and great education? Well, as I think about success for our graduates 5 to 10 years out, I first have to think, are we thinking about the graduate school with our master's degree students and our PhD students, or are we thinking about the medical school with our MD and PA graduates? Maybe we'll take them one at a time. On the graduate school side, people have largely come to our graduate school to learn, study, and become expert in some aspect of scientific inquiry. 5 to 10 years out, many of them at the PhD level are still pretty early in their careers. Many, if not most, of our PhD graduates will do a postdoctoral experience. And by the time they finish several years of that and then join a faculty somewhere, join a biopharmaceutical company, join a technology company, a financial services company, they're still pretty early in their career. And for me, success is that they've found their lane. They found a place where they can really get joy from studying some aspect of science that they were prepared for here at Weill Cornell Medicine. I don't think they have to be in the career spot that they're going to be in forever, but they have to have sort of found their lane 5 to 10 years out, and where they're finding joy in learning about, studying, teaching science. That to me would be success for our graduates of the graduate school. For our MD graduates, things are a little more complicated because 5 to 10 years out, many of them are still in their residency and fellowship training. I think about my own graduation from medical school. I was in residency and fellowship training for 8 years after medical school. I was still in the midst of training. For those of our MD graduates who are still training 5 to 10 years out, I hope that they love what they do. That's really what I hope for them. For those who have maybe had a shorter training period and are now working in practice as a member of a faculty somewhere, as a member of a practice somewhere, I hope that they're finding joy in how they divide their time among clinical care, research, and education. For our PA graduates, some of them will have gone on to do advanced training in a specialty. Others will enter the workforce. I hope that whatever it is that they've done, either continued training or entered the workforce, that like I've said about our MD graduates and our PhD and master's graduates, I hope they're finding joy in what they do. Most of our PA graduates are going to be involved in direct patient care. I hope they've found the specialty that they love. I hope they've found an area of concentration that they're deriving pleasure and joy from every day. How do we make the tenure process better for faculty? We're trying here at Weill Cornell Medicine, and let me back up and explain a little bit more. Tenure is an old concept now, whereby an experienced faculty member, after several, if not many years of being a member of that faculty, is evaluated for the process of tenure. Tenure grants academic freedom to people. It grants them employment security in the way that they can feel free to pursue lines of inquiry that they want to pursue without fear of upsetting somebody to the point where they could lose their positions. Over the years, it really has concentrated amongst that group of faculty, largely doing research. Although some of our faculty who also split their time between research and clinical care also have tenure. Here at Weill Cornell, tenure, in fact, is a pretty complicated process. And one of the things I've noted since arriving 2 years ago is that it needs some refinement. I hope that the listeners will be pleased to know that we're embarking upon that plan of refinement. I've asked a faculty group this year to spend the year really thinking about our entire process from the time you're applying for a job that might be tenure eligible at Weill Cornell to the point when you actually go through the process to better describe and codify all those steps along the way, not to make it cookie cutter, but really more to give people clear direction about what is tenure, what's expected, and how one goes through the process. I'm hopeful that when we roll this out sometime in the next academic year, it'll make sense to faculty. It'll make sense to prospective faculty members. It's a great question to ask. Why is it so difficult? We want to make it less difficult.